What's your creepiest glitch in the Matrix or unexplainable thing that's ever happened to you? I died. I saw it, I lived it. Either it was another world with a version of me that died I saw, or I'm going crazy, but I died. We had a pep rally in school, and after it was finished, we had to go back to class. Well, my friend and I were not into that, so we wanted to go across the street to Sonic. Across the school there is not heavy traffic, but if you don't pay attention, you could get hit. Well, I remember walking with him, and he dropped something, so I went across the street first. I just saw a red Tahoe heading right for me, and I got hit. I remember everything. I remember gasping for air. I remember waking up and sleeping again. Then nothing. All of a sudden, I was back in the stadium again, and the exact same words came out of the principal's mouth. My friend wanted to go get Sonic, but I was freaking out. Was asking him everything. I thought it had to be a dream, so I went with him just to see what would happen. He dropped his stuff again and I waited. To my horror, that same red Tahoe showed up. I told him that I'm going back to school, I ain't dying again. I can still see the other version of me on that street, just messed up. Not even moving. Every night I go to bed about 2 hours before my husband. I always wake up when he comes into the room. One night, he was gaming with a friend and it was hours later. I heard him sneak into the room and crawl across the floor so he could pop up and scare me. I felt the floor kind of shake and felt him bump clumsily against the side of the bed in the dark. I held out my hand and asked him not to scare me. I was already scared enough and begged him to just take my hand and come to bed. I couldn't see anything in the room, but knew he was there and just waited for him to jump up so I could move on and go back to sleep. That's when I heard him talking to his friend in the other room. I was frozen. I know there's sleep paralysis or lucid dreaming or something that explains this, but I would have sworn on my son's life that someone had crawled across the floor and jostled the bed. Eventually, I worked out of the fear enough to grab my phone and text my husband to come in and turn on the lights and check under the bed. But holy Smeagol, it boggles me how real it felt. A friend and I went to a buddy's house for a birthday party. Stayed up playing Halo 2 and hanging out. We all crash in the basement. Our friend who came with me and I got up at the same time. Not like one after each other, we both got up at the same time after being asleep for a few hours and rushed to the bathroom. R was more athletic than me, probably still is, and beat me there. I ran upstairs, barely getting my head over the toilet before puking my guts out. R was doing the same thing in the basement. I was wearing a wooden cross my grandmother mailed me from Romania. I'm not religious, but I appreciated the gift as I had never met her at that point. Cross somehow became detached from the cord, fell on the tile and broke into 2 pieces. So we both call our respective mothers and get picked up. By now it's like 3 to 4 a.m. Felt sick up until we left the house. Once I was in the car and a few blocks away, felt perfectly fine. R reported the same thing to me that day over MSN Messenger. Felt perfectly fine after a few blocks. Got the pictures developed a few weeks later. There's a picture of us on the couch rocking some Halo, and the whole room looks like it's filled with mist. Super spooky. I've been looking for the pic for a long time, and I can't seem to find it anymore, but every few years my sister and I search my mom's photo albums for it. Broad daylight. Sitting at a stoplight to turn left under a highway bridge. In front of me and to the left is the turnaround lane for traffic coming from the other direction. I hear a police siren coming my way. I see a motorcycle cop with his lights flashing and siren on following a white SUV. The white SUV turns left in the turnaround lane, with the policeman following about 20 feet behind. This is where it gets weird. Both the SUV and motorcycle cop are going roughly 25 miles per hour. As the cop enters the turnaround lane, his siren suddenly shuts completely off the moment he passes behind a small concrete pillar. He never comes out from the other side of the pillar. The SUV just continues on as if nothing happened and heads for a Chicken Express just up the street. I'm sitting there in disbelief, wondering how and why the cop came to a complete stop from going 25 miles per hour, and his siren turned off at the same time, and the pillar would have only barely been able to cover him front to back. When the light turned green, I went and looked behind the pillar, expecting to see him somehow, but he wasn't there. The motorcycle cop got swallowed before my eyes into another dimension, and I think the white SUV did it somehow. Once when we were kids, I had some friends with an Ouija board at the basement of the building where I lived. Through the stairs, there was an elevator shaft that had these wide bars where you could stick your arm in them, typical old elevator design. So one night, they decided to go to the basement to do another Ouija session, and I decided to drop a cup of glass through the shaft, just to scare them off. I let go of the cup, saw it vanish into the darkness, and I never heard the cup hit the ground. I stood there, confused. Next day, I went downstairs at the basement with one of my friends, and the cup was there, placed in the middle of the elevator shaft floor. The cup was upright and intact. I was seriously freaked out by that, because it would be impossible for someone to enter the elevator shaft and place the cup there like that. The cup should have broken into pieces since I threw it from the 10th floor against a cement floor. In October 2018, I developed tendinitis in my hand, so I went to see a hand specialist at my regular hospital. I remember the hand specialist really clearly. She was a really happy, talkative Vietnamese woman with straight dark brown hair and glasses. She had a German-sounding last name, which I assumed was her married name. She was really nice, and we had a long conversation about a medical conference that she goes to. She explained that my hand issues, caused by phone usage, were the hot topic of the conference, and that she'd probably use my injury as an example when she goes there. Anyway, she gave me care instructions and sent me home. I was told to return if it didn't resolve in a few weeks, because then I'd need to be re-examined and sent to physical therapy. It didn't resolve and I went back. I had an appointment with the same doctor, but the woman who came into the room was completely different. She was a white woman with light brown hair, no glasses, completely different face shape, really dull and unwelcoming disposition. I was so flipping confused. I asked her her name, and she gave the same name the Asian doctor had. I asked if there was another doctor by that name and she told me no, it was only her. I described the doctor I had seen and she got annoyed and said she didn't know who I was talking about. I later went online to the hospital's staff directory and tried to find the Asian doctor. I couldn't. I have no idea what happened to her. I even checked my medical records to see if maybe I remembered her name incorrectly, but I didn't. Both of my visits have the same doctor's name on them. I've always been confused about this, and it really bothers me that I met someone who doesn't seem to exist anymore. To answer some questions, I couldn't tell if the white doctor actually remembered me. When I told her that I was confused about the situation, she just looked at my chart, confirmed that my previous appointment had been with her, and told me that she'd seen me before. I wasn't under the impression that she actually remembered me. I didn't ask a lot of questions because she seemed extremely annoyed with me, like I was wasting her time, and she just wanted the appointment to be over. I'm sure that I sounded insane, so I don't blame her for her bad attitude. I don't think the Asian doctor ever told me the name of the conference, she just said that it was a conference for hand specialists, so I haven't been able to look it up. Also, someone asked me if I was intoxicated during the first visit. No, I wasn't. I don't drink or do Calaxian. A lot of people have said that it might have been a student intern resident or a physician's assistant. My hospital doesn't have students except in the pharmacy, as far as I know, but I agree that it could have been a physician's assistant. I'm not 100% convinced because I rechecked the hospital's directory of doctors just now, and even though PAs are listed, I still couldn't find the Asian doctor, but it's 2020, so maybe she doesn't work there anymore. I also tried to describe the first doctor to the second one, and she cut me off and told me she didn't know who I was talking about, but maybe she lied. Part of me thinks that this is like the Berenstein thing, and at some point, I got switched from the Asian doctor reality to the white doctor reality. I was about 12 years old and woke up in the middle of the night needing to take a leak. I walked across the hall to the little bathroom, hit the lights, and was about to reach for the toilet when I glanced up and saw a face in the mirror. It was not my face. It was as if someone was on the other side, standing to the right, with their face right next to the glass, staring at me. I only saw it for the briefest moment, but it is seared into my brain. I screamed and ran out of there to find my dad. Of course, my dad investigated, then calmed me down, or tried to. Eventually we had a prayer session, because I was so freaked out. Eventually I must have gone back to sleep. Fast forward to my 30s. I'd forgotten all about the event. One night while visiting, my dad quietly brings it up. Remember that one time you saw a face in the mirror? It suddenly came back to me in a rush of memory, sending a chill down my spine. Yeah, I remember. Well, he said, I sometimes think about that night. He looked down at the floor with a serious expression. I saw it too. He went on to describe exactly what I'd seen. We have no idea what that was. Apparently when he investigated, he saw it and had a freak out of his own. Apparently the prayer session was as much for his own nerves as mine. I respect him for keeping that tidbit from me till my 30s, but I kind of wish he'd never told me. My daughter, 4, was playing in her room on the second story. I was 2 rooms away, playing my guitar. Very loudly, I heard my daughter screaming, "Daddy, come to the guest bedroom, I want to show you something." This immediately seemed off. We have an extra bedroom, but I had never heard her call in that before. While she also has pretty good speech, this was amazingly clear. When I walked around the corner, into the bedroom to see what she wanted, I saw 2 little legs sliding out the window. I jumped across the room and grabbed my daughter by her ankle before she could fall out. After a not great moment where I yelled at her, then hugged her, then yelled again, then apologized for yelling and hugged her, I finally calmed down. We had a talk about why we don't play in windows. While I was putting the window back together, she had pushed and popped out the storm and screen window from the bottom. I asked her what she wanted to show me. What do you want to show me? You asked me to come see something. No, I didn't, Daddy. Are you sure? You told me to come to the guest bedroom. A little whiny now and annoyed. No, I didn't, Daddy. You didn't ask me to come to the guest bedroom to see something? No. Okay.